Here's a very important survey we're going to tell you a little bit more about now. 65% of South African children aged 4 to 5 are unable to meet expected standards of early learning and physical growth. The Thrive by 5 Index is the biggest survey of preschool child development ever attempted here in South Africa. It evaluated more than 5,000 children in various types of early learning program. For more on this and its other findings, I'm joined by the Department of Education's Terence Khala, who joins us from here in Pretoria. Here in Gauteng from Pretoria. Terence, thanks for your time this evening. Very, very important survey that you've released today. And the survey, Thrive by 5, an index which assessed, like I just said, 5,000 children, but it focused on 3 areas: early learning, physical growth and social emotional functioning, with a focus on various things in those various silos. Can you give us an understanding of what the main findings were of the survey?
Michelle, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to speak to you this evening. I think in looking at some of the key findings of the index, we're really looking at the fact that around 65% of children between the ages of 4 and 5 are not really achieving at the levels requisite that they really should be for children that are about to come into the basic education sector. So I think it's really important for us to really look at the fact that 65% of learners, unfortunately, is not achieving at the level that they should. We also then looked at the fact that 1 in 4, around 25% of children, are unfortunately suffering from long-term malnutrition. And I think this also is then in an aspect that then contributes, unfortunately, negatively to their ability to grow cognitively and also to learn cognitively. So I think in looking at some of these findings, it really does put into perspective really the size of the challenge that we have in front of us, and really in looking at how this index can really inform the work of the department moving forward. I think it's important to also bring home the fact that the ECD function shift has now taken place from the Department of Social Development, and it's come now to basic education. And I think it's surveys and indexes of this nature that will really help us understand really where to plan our interventions, and really to have data-driven interventions that can really help us to really find traction across the sector, and really make sure that all learners by the time we do the next index are really at a much stronger level and can really be at a position to really take advantage of the opportunities that lie ahead of them.
It's good you've mentioned that, because it was just this week that the process, or it's a process obviously that's been ongoing for some time, but officially from the 1st of April, the Department of Education has taken over the sector of early learning development from from the Department of Social Development to basic education. So you've really started this process, this transition with a bang, being given this very important data. The issue of stunted growth as well is something that was brought up by the survey, and that's something that we've heard a lot about over the last few years as well. And that really gives us an understanding, doesn't it, of just what impact a child's lack of early learning development has on the rest of their life arc, which of course means that if they're not being stimulated in the right way, if they're not developing, if they're not getting the right nutrition from ages 0 to 5, it means other issues will follow them into later life. And according to the survey, again, proof that stunted children are more than likely, percentage-wise, to end up being having health issues later on in life and being unemployed. So that really explains why the development at this age is so important, doesn't it?
Certainly, Michelle, and I think it really brings home the point. One of the other factors that the index actually pointed out was that learners that are coming from poorer households are less likely to be successful adults as a result of the fact that they're coming from an environment where they're not receiving the requisite nutrition. And I think with that function shift, and really with the fact that ECD is now with the basic education sector, it gives us an opportunity to really bring the social services that are within the sector really to the fore, and really be able to assist our younger citizens with really making sure that we can augment then the ability, or rather the challenges that they have had, and really make sure that we can bring something like the National School Nutrition Program, which currently feeds over 9.4 million children every day, really, and bring that to the fore and bring it to these young children that would really be able to benefit from that, because these are healthy, nutritious meals that are put together by dietitians and really are really geared to making sure that learners can really develop at the requisite levels and can really bring the best out of themselves. And I think it's really about giving every child across the country an equal opportunity. And hence, we really feel that this opportunity and understanding really and knowing what the index tells us then gives us really a clearer indication of how we can really use what we have in the basic education sector to really deal with the challenges that have been brought up and what has been identified really as the major drivers of learners not actually being able to deliver the requisite output. So I think this index in itself really gives us really a beautiful blueprint for us to be able to chart a way forward, really bring together data-driven responses that can really help us to then chart the way forward towards the next index. So obviously, because this will be taking place every 5 years, we'll have an opportunity for us to then relook and revisit really the interventions that we're putting into place and really redevelop them and make sure that we can continuously improve and really make sure that the basic education sector, that the early childhood development sector really does give the younger citizens of this country really a beautiful opportunity and the best opportunity really to succeed.
The index also found that 27.5% of children did not meet the standard when it came to age-appropriate social relations with peers and adults, and that 33.4% were found to not be emotionally ready for school. Does the survey tell us how many children are actually in an early childhood development program of some kind in years 1 to 3? I did read somewhere in the survey that while children are being sent to school to enter grade R, there doesn't seem to be enough of them being in some kind of program before they get to grade R. What are the numbers there, and what could we possibly do to try and ensure that enough children have access to those programs in years 1 to 4?
Well, one thing that we've already done, Michelle, is really to engage the ECD census, which is really a process that is taking us around the country, really looking at the size of the sector and really helping us understand and really build a understanding of really how many ECD spaces are there out there and really how many learners there are in there. I think it's important for us to begin from a base where we really understand what the data looks like, where we can really have our own data that really is strong and that we can believe that is really relevant, and we can then be able to plan the requisite responses within that. So I think in terms of the numbers, we are currently busy with the full-scale ECD census. That will then give us the requisite numbers that we will then be able to then bring back to you and then know actually what the size of this huge sector is. Obviously, we have, as indicated, taken charge of ECD from the 1st of April, and really the ECD census is one of the myriad of responses, or rather tasks and processes that are really already underway in terms of making sure that we can really deliver the best of early childhood development. So I think, Michelle, I would definitely love to come back to you and have a discussion about that census and really look at where the numbers are at this stage. But I think in looking at that, it's really something that we are currently in the process of really looking at and building our own statistical data that will be similar really to this Thrive by 5 index and give us really the best opportunity to be able to tackle the challenges that exist within the ECD space.
Okay, well, let's make that appointment once you have those numbers tallied. I think it's an important conversation for us to keep going, because too many of our children are indeed at risk long before their lives even get going properly. Thanks so much for your time this evening. The Department of Education's Terence Khala telling us a bit more there about the Thrive by 5 program that was launched today. Very, very important information there, including that 35% of our children thrive by 5, but 49% face barriers to thriving and are deemed to be at risk, and 16% face significant barriers to thriving. Those numbers need to change, and they need to change fast.